All happy summer. I hope you're having a good summer so far. Um, Now it's time for fieldwork, and we're going to go over a fieldwork case study about an 80-year-old named Randall. I gave a little bit more background information that was on the assignment that was provided by Dr. Dooley. This is a client that I've actually gone to work with in the past, and I had a lot of fun working with him, so I kind of gave a little bit more information, and it definitely has helped to kind of figure out why I chose what I chose to do with this client. So take time, read this, and we'll start up. Alright, so now that you guys got a little bit more background information, some assessments that I thought would be beneficial to work with Randall would be the COPM, range of motion, and manual muscle testing. The COPM allows an OT to assess each occupational domain in the form of a conversation. Since this individual is 80, it was really important for me to kind of make that conversation, gain rapport, and learn more about that individual. And it also allowed the client to rank how they felt their occupations are most important to them, especially kind of if they started talking about the past. For example, this individual talked a lot about his time working in a sugar plant. And then we kind of said, well, compared to now to here, how do you think you perform this, or do you want to perform this better in the future? Then we got to find out how he wants to kind of improve that. And then I do have a video included to go over the COPM if you need a little bit of a refresher, because I know there's a lot of assessments, and it's always good to have refreshers. Another assessment that I thought was important was the range of motion and manual muscle testing. With Randall, we did the quick range of motion and quick manual muscle testing. You could definitely do regular range of motion and manual muscle testing too. We just did quick because it was easy, simple to do with him. And we did it in a sitting position, so it was a little bit of adapted just because of that leg difference. That balance was very wobbly on its own. It is important to do range of motion and manual muscle testing to learn more about the physical limits of your client, because you need physical activity to do everyday occupations. Again, here's that little, I tried to find a short video for you guys, but I really like this video, and it's a really good refresher, and it goes over an occupational therapist interviewing her grandmother about some different activities after a surgery. I know it's a surgery, but it's going to be very similar, and it's a good refresher on the COPM. Another aspect that I think is important to do during maybe assessments if you have time, but definitely during treatment or intervention planning, is dressing. Dressing is a huge occupation that is very important throughout your whole entire life. And for this individual, we focused on techniques and adaptive equipment. Techniques that we used is getting dressed in a sitting position to reduce fatigue levels and improve balance. And then we used another technique to place all the garments on his bed or dresser beforehand to reduce fatigue levels, whether it was before he was done taking a shower or before he was going to bed. We just made sure everything was there so he didn't have to shuffle through all his dresser drawers and closets. So I talked about fatigue in both these techniques. With COPD, fatigue is huge. You get shortness of breath very easily, and it is very hard to do an activity for long durations of time. So if you're able to kind of conserve that energy and shorten the amount of walking you have to do or the amount of energy being exerted into the activity, it is definitely going to help improve that occupation of dressing that we're talking about right now. Then we have adaptive equipment. For this individual, we used a shoe horn, Velcro or slip-on shoes, button-up shirts, a dressing stick, and a reacher. This dressing stick was used in the beginning, not so much now. There was just different other ways he preferred to do it. And again, this is just for this individual. There are so many ways you can use dressing techniques, and it is very important to remember that each client will have their own preference. For example, this client used a reacher a lot, not even just for dressing, but everyday activities like reaching to grab an object that fell on the floor, reaching up on higher areas to grab an object as well in the kitchen. For the slip-on shoes and Velcro shoes, it was really important because this individual's balance was a little off due to the varying leg lengths. And that shoehorn helped him kind of balance a little bit more and kind of focus on getting that shoe on. As for the button-up shirts, with his shoulder range of motion, the button-up shirts helped him be able to kind of, instead of bring his arms up and bring his shirt down like a t-shirt, he was able to put it on like a coat, which was a lot easier for this individual. Another treatment and intervention activity that we incorporated each time was energy conservation and work simplification, especially because of the COPD. With that shortness of breath, simplifying these tasks that occur every day and conserving energy had the potential to improve activity levels throughout the day. So for energy conservation, we use placement and use of technology. When I mean placement, I mean, did he shower? When showering or getting dressed, did he stay seated or standing down to reduce that fatigue? It is definitely easier to shower seated than to shower standing, especially with his legs different levels, to help with that balance as well. And then he also used technology such as an electric recliner to assist in a chair transfer. For this individual, he did have hip surgery in the past, which is why that leg was a different length. It was a lot easier to sit and stand, or to go from sitting to standing with that recliner to help him assist in the process. These are only two examples. There's so many different ways you can conserve energy. I just wanted to share a few. Maybe you guys can come up with a little bit more ideas on your own. And then work simplification. We focus on reducing the number of steps necessary to complete a task. Again, that would be setting out those clothes the night before. That was a really good example, as you don't have to shuffle through those doors or the closet to find all the clothes. Everything is just in that place. Which kind of goes along with creating a task station, such as a cereal station, where all the spoons, bowls, and box of cereals are right there. Again, these are only two examples, and I hope you can think of different work simplification ideas with your on your own. So the last thing I want to talk about is transfers. I talk about three: tub transfer, sitting to standing, standing to sitting, and supine to sitting. So I think transfers are super important because as one ages, balance has the potential to decline and increase the risk of falling. So it is very important to consider how one moves from task to task and how to stay safe when doing them. I would encourage to always use a gait belt when assessing transfers, and even when you're doing treatment and interventions, because you really never know what's going to happen, especially when this individual was very off balance, had a walker, and was at an older age where there is an increased risk for falls. So the first transfer I want to talk about is a shower or tub transfer. A few questions I kind of ask myself is, will Randall have to step into the tub? Is it easier to shower sitting or standing? And how is his balance? Some assistive equipment that we could use is a shower chair, a long-handled sponge, and grab bars. So to kind of go over the shower transfer, this individual did a really good job explaining how to do a shower transfer with a walker, which I think is very important because our client, Randall, does use a walker all the time no matter what. And I know this talks about a hip replacement, but it is very similar to the techniques that we went over with Randall. So if you please take time to watch this, it's a really good video to watch. So the next transfer I want to talk about is the sit to stand and stand to sit transfer. A few questions that I ask myself is, how is Randall's balance? Would he benefit from a firm cushion to aid the transfer? Is the height of the chair too high or too low? And then the next transfer is supine to sitting transfer. And a few questions I ask myself is, a bed rail or grab bar necessary to aid in the transfer? Is there a technique that could be easier for Randall to use? And does he have the strength to prop himself up? I didn't talk about assistive equipment on this, but you could definitely talk about assistive equipment. From sitting to standing, assistive equipment is even an extra chair cushion. Does he need that extra support on that cushion? Does he need firmness or softness on that cushion? Does he need armrests on his chairs? Those are all kind of adaptive assistive equipment that can be implemented and used in everyday furniture. So for the supine to sitting transfer, again, this is for a hip replacement, but this OT did a really good job explaining how to do the steps, and we did go over these steps with Randall because he was struggling to kind of transfer from his bed to a sitting position to put on his shoes in the morning, because right away he always did put on his shoes if he wasn't going to take a shower. And then the last one was a sit to stand. I included a video that an occupational therapist made for a hip replacement, but again, it was really important to include this because it went over the important steps of using a walker to sit to stand. One thing that I did want to point out, I really liked how this individual took time to explain to not use the walker to stand up, but put one hand down and one hand on the walker to help stand up, rather than using all your body weight to kind of help, and the walker to pull yourself up. So now that I went over everything that I wanted to talk about with you guys, I do have a few reminders that I kind of remind myself every day as I'm starting the day, especially I'm going into acute care in my field work. Safety is key. As an OT, safety should, no matter what age the individual is, safety should always be an important factor throughout the therapeutic process. And it's all about trial and error. Don't ever get down on yourself if nothing works with a client, because there will eventually be something. Each client will prefer certain strategies, techniques, assistive devices, and have different perspectives and preferences of what they want to do. So you just kind of got to talk to them, gain that rapport, and gain their trust, and learn more about your client to find a solution throughout the therapeutic process. Well, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for listening, and happy fieldwork!